Hey YouTube, it's Jeff at Darkmoon Metals. Welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of prototype work on the PlasmaCam. Alright guys, now no, these are not holiday holly ninja throwing stars. I have something completely different in mind for them. I cut out two because the first one there was a slight flaw in the cut path and it cut way too far into that section of the circle than what I wanted, so I corrected the cut path and cut the second piece. So here I am again, YouTube, and I think I've kind of created myself a paradox. Whenever I don't know something, I usually say right up front, I don't know. And I keep telling people that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you don't know what you're doing or you're not an expert on a specific topic, you know, you really should put that out there so you don't mislead people. And I try to do that often. And I think that's one of the reasons why there are people out there who respect me, and then they ask me my opinion more. And I've said in different videos I don't like giving my opinions or my thoughts on whether or not you should go out and buy a tool or buy a piece of equipment. Money for some people is a very finite resource, and for me to say something that'll sway you in one direction or the other on whether or not you should spend your hard-earned money on a tool or a product, and it doesn't work out for you, I mean, I'd feel horrible. And that's not why I'm out here. I want to help as many people as possible. So that being said, I have had over the years numerous questions about PlasmaCams and how do I like it? Does it work well for me? Is it everything I hoped it would be? And speaking specifically about my experience with the PlasmaCam, it's been like having a second employee in the shop. I mean, I can upload a file to it, it'll cut out what I want. If I'm cutting out multiple parts, I can walk away from the machine and go do something else. And it really is a multiplier when it comes to how much stuff I can get done in a specific amount of time. And could I live without it at this point? No, it's a very awesome piece of equipment. And their customer service at PlasmaCam in general, the support staff and the customer service staff, they are second to none. And even if you make the best piece of equipment on the planet and you have a company where your customer service sucks, you are not worth anything to me and I will not buy from you. That's just how I feel. But based on their customer service, the performance of the machine, PlasmaCam is one of those things that if somebody said, is it worthwhile? I would say yes. Now, if they ask me if they should buy one, I would say, let's talk. Because I don't know their situation enough to give them an intelligent answer. When I first purchased the PlasmaCam, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I made the determination that yes, it was worthwhile for me to go to the bank, get a $10,000 loan, and make 4 years worth of payments at like $259 a month. Especially at a time when I didn't have a lot of money coming in. And I want to explain the thought process behind how I made the decision to buy. And I want you to kind of apply that to everything in your shop because it's a pretty simple formula. Number one, what did I want to do with the PlasmaCam? So when you want to purchase a piece of equipment, what do you want to do with it? Well, the PlasmaCam was originally purchased because I wanted to become the next Gil Hibben. I wanted to make knives, and I wanted to become known for knife making. I know all the principles, I've made several knives in the past, and purchasing more and better equipment would allow me to advance where I wanted to be on that path. So I purchased the PlasmaCam with the intention of cutting out dozens and dozens of throwing knives, because I figured I can start selling, 3-piece or 5-piece throwing knife kits relatively inexpensive. They wouldn't take that much to make, especially having the PlasmaCam doing all the heavy lifting for me. And that was why I purchased the PlasmaCam. But I also had a backup plan. I thought to myself, well, what would happen if I couldn't sell as many of these as I wanted to? What would happen if something fell through or I couldn't do what I wanted? Would having that piece of equipment still be an asset at that point? And that's when I started doing all of my research, and I started doing all my reading, and I watched videos on YouTube of other people who had PlasmaCams and saw all the different things they were doing with them. And that is what gave me the confidence to purchase this machine, not because of the projects that I wanted to do with it, but because of what else it could do. And the nice part about having someone just send me a drawing, I could throw it on a machine and cut it out of anything up to 7/8 thick with my plasma torch. It gave me a pretty confident foothold saying that yes, I can make this work. The machine will at least earn enough revenue every month where it will pay for itself. And that was the key for me. So am I using the PlasmaCam for cutting out knife blades? No, I've cut out maybe a dozen in the 4 years that I've owned it. And I have found myself cutting out things that I never would have even considered. So it's, like I said, it's a work multiplier, and it's multi-purpose. I can use it for other projects. I mean, every time you upload a new file to the machine, you have a new project. These little things, I'll just touch base on this for a second. This is going to be a candle holder, and I made the leaves kind of look like holly. I'm doing it for Christmas. I'm going to just weld a pedestal with a candle holder on it. It's going to have a little taper, probably 6 inches tall, but it's 3/16, so it weighs enough and it's stable enough where I know it's not going to tip over. The PlasmaCam is awesome for prototyping because I can cut the same pattern out in like 5 different thicknesses of material and see how well each one works and figure out which one's going to be the best overall. And I can tell just by the way I'm talking I need coffee, so I'm going to do my best not to ramble on. Why am I doing prototype work at this point in the year when it's my busiest season? Well, these are going to be Christmas gifts, and I'm going to do a couple other leaf patterns, maybe an oak leaf, things like that, and I'm going to make candle holders out of them. I'm using the PlasmaCam because I can scale things up or down in the software. And I did consider the fact that what if I sell these one day on my website? Well, I got myself one of those small if it fits it ships boxes. I got the dimensions off of it, and I cut this specifically so it would fit. A pair of these will fit inside of the small flat rate shipping box. So when I do decide to start having my e-commerce site, my shipping is going to be thought of already, and I'm not going to have to worry about how much things are going to cost or estimates and things of that nature. But I never thought I would be cutting out little things like this on the PlasmaCam. I wanted to cut out knives, but here we are. I wanted to be the next Gil Hibben, but I'm not. I'm known as, that's the rose guy, because I started making copper roses. I made one for my mother for Christmas, and on a fluke, everybody happened to love it. And since then, I've had people order sometimes a dozen at a time as an engagement gift. I never wanted to be known as the rose guy, but you know what? Being known as the rose guy rather than having a business that failed is actually pretty damn cool. And now with the PlasmaCam, I'm cutting out enough parts in a single sitting where I could make 100 of these roses with the parts that it cuts in about 3.5 hours. And everything, I mean the petal, the entire flower, the little frilly thing under the flower, the leaves, with the exception of the stem, everything is cut on the PlasmaCam. So yes, it was a worthwhile investment, and giving it the criteria of can it do more than I need really did make it a worthwhile purchase, and it's making me money. Now, I'm gonna kind of draw on another area of something that I know. Let's say you want to go to school to become a gunsmith. Recent developments in this country, over the last, I'd say, decade or so, people have gone out and started buying firearms again, and they're saying firearm sales are way up there compared to where they were just a couple of decades ago. So you might be one of those people out there, it's like, hey, I love metal, I love firearms, I'm going to become a gunsmith. Well, one of the things that a gunsmith generally has is a lathe. And you can spend $15,000 to $20,000 on a lathe, I mean, if you really want a nice one. The question is, what happens if something goes wrong and your dreams of becoming a gunsmith are shattered? And I'm not trying to say that you're going to fail, I'm just saying, hey, life happens sometimes, and sometimes life sucks. What are you going to do with that $20,000 lathe? What are you going to do with all of your tools that are specifically designed for gunsmithing? The only thing you might be able to do is sell them off at a loss and then have to start something new from scratch. So that's why I don't go out and buy very specialized pieces of equipment. The milling machine that I purchased, I was able to get it at a great price. It had tooling, and I can do a wide variety of things with it. You know, heck, if I ever get really lazy and I decide to start making knives and I want to put the fuller down the center, I can mill it in. I don't have to use a hammer and top and bottom tool. I can do a lot of different things with a milling machine, so for me it's a worthwhile investment. So before you take anybody's advice off of YouTube about you should buy this, it's the right color, it's the right brand, go for it. It's not about supporting a color or a brand, okay? You need to find what is going to work for you and what can adapt with you as you go through your path towards your career, your hobby, starting your business, whatever. So keep in mind when there are people out there, this welder is the best on the planet. Everybody can have a channel and an opinion. And like some people out there, I want you to take what I say with a grain of salt, because honestly, I'm just a guy with a channel and an opinion. I am a random schmuck sitting here talking to you on the internet. You know, I'm not in a professional setting. I'm not working for Consumer Reports telling you that one thing is better than the next. I am truly humbled, though, that there are people out there who do value my opinion and see value in the stuff that I post. But ultimately, the decision is yours. And if using the process of going out, looking at a tool, and figuring out every possible thing that you can do with it, and making sure that it's adaptable to your needs and it can follow you on your path and it's not going to become obsolete in a few years, that's really the key to buying anything. So before you invest your time, your money, and potentially your future in a high-priced, high-ticket, bright and shiny object, make sure it's going to work for you and it's going to be there for the long haul. Alright guys, so I'm about ready to wrap up the video, but I want to answer the one last question that my subscriber had posed to me, and that was, what am I using for a power source? What is my plasma cutter? This is a Miller Spectrum 2050. I don't believe this unit is made anymore. I think they came out with something a little bit better, a few more bells and whistles. It has performed very well for me over the years. Consumables seem to have a relatively reliable lifespan. Don't have to worry about things burning out too fast. But I want to go back for a second and talk about opinion versus fact. And that's how I'm going to end the video. The reason that I have all Miller equipment is because I had a very bad experience with a Lincoln Electric welder. Do I hate Lincoln Electric? Do I think they make a lousy product? No. In fact, Lincolns are rock solid. I know people who've built their businesses and used those machines as the backbone of their success. So I have nothing against Lincoln. But when I was in school, somebody had beat the snot out of a machine, ran it way past its duty cycle, and every other week what would happen is we would kind of go into a different booth with different equipment. And half of the booths had Miller products, half of them had Lincoln Electric products. And I had this Lincoln Electric right after this. I don't even want to comment on what I think of this dude, but he was one of those types of people who didn't appreciate something unless he had to pay for it. It was there to beat the crap out of and abuse. He didn't really respect anything, and I really hate working with those guys because it led me to have an experience where this Lincoln Electric MIG burned up right next to me. I started using it, and within about 20 minutes of running half of its duty cycle, something popped and the machine caught fire. And it happened in a very confined space while I'm wearing my leathers and stuff, and it was not an overall joyful experience, but it was enough to put a bad taste in my mouth. And whenever I kind of see one of those machines, that's the first thing I think about. And I know it's just a personality quirk, but that's why I don't have any Lincolns in my shop. But I am also open-minded, and I know that that was an isolated incident and that these things don't happen very often. So if I ever expand and I have the opportunity to hire employees and have a bigger shop, I'm not going to just say, hey, Miller, show me what you got. I'm going to look at Lincoln Electric, I'm going to look at ESOB, I'm going to look at anything that will make my business better and any kind of equipment that will do what I need it to do. So, like I said before, I am just a random schmuck out here on the internet that happens to have a channel and an opinion. Now, if you really want to open up a huge box of worms, but no, we're not going to do that. I'll catch you guys later.